Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So last weekend was Nats for North America. It had a blast. Thanks to everybody that stopped and said hi while we were there. Just a great showing, great amount of players, great sportsmanship across the board. Never had any issues with anybody, so that was really nice. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the top performing lists of different brackets, just ones that really caught my eye out of the top 64, ones that really impressed me, so I want to just get them out there so that way everyone can see them. That's not just the same old cookie cutter stuff that we've seen. So the decks that really break the mold out of top 64. So really want to congratulate these guys just because they took decks that nobody really expected to do as well as they did, and then they did phenomenally. So really awesome to see those guys. Also, don't forget to check out our Etsy page, link in the description below. If you're looking for a memory marker to use for your deck, we probably got something that'll be absolutely perfect for the deck of choice, as well as check out all of our new merch that we've got up. We've got some really cool stuff like new keychains and fridge magnets, things like that, stuff that you can't really get anywhere else. So definitely go check those out. All right, so I've got this Google spreadsheet pulled up. Thanks Kyle from Ride My Avatar. He posted this link for his on his breakdown, so make sure you go check that out. He's going to cover some different stuff that I'm not going to cover here, so great stuff there. He's been doing some really good coverage, so make sure you go check him out. So here we got his spreadsheet pulled up that he shared. So what we got here is the top 64 breakdown here. We saw a ton of Anubises as expected. We saw a bunch of Mirages, red hybrids, purple Garurumon, blue Garurumon, Setcon here, Beelzemon. We got Machingermon here in the form of Mugen, Belphamon making a good comeback, green Leomon, Lugamon, Gotcha Leo, Yellow Vaccine. Actually surprised Yellow Vaccine was as low as it was. Yellow Hybrid, super big surprise. Devas, Hunters, Blue Flare, and Bagra of all things. So let's go look at where we were on our prediction, right? So this was our prediction video that we put out on where things would fall. So of course Anubis right here at the top as expected, followed by Garurumon as well. If you combine the two different Garurumons, it was definitely a high performer. Surprised that BL-Star was as low as it was, honestly. Now I don't know if one of these, purple Garurumons was also happened to be a BL-Star. I'm not really sure. But was a low performer, which is a real shame. No War Greymon. Wow. Huge. Because all the other big tops we've seen have had Greymon everywhere, so really big surprise we didn't see those. Mirage, of course, this was expected, especially after the Europe Nats where it won out, so I did expect a bunch of those to be playing. No D-Brigade. I think I saw one D-Brigade player the whole weekend, so just not a big turnout for this. I kind of wish I had played this myself, though, just to see where it would have fallen in a lot of these matchups. So that was a big surprise. Setcon, of course, here. Vaccine, Shine Greymon, surprisingly, it was doing really well, so I'm really shocked that it didn't do better than it did. And then we've got the Royal Knights here as well, down here in our 1.5, not even tier 2, like these are just almost just as good as tier 1 here. We got Lugamon here. No All-Force. Big surprise again because it was doing very well. Red Hybrid, of course. We got Blue Flare here. No Bloom. Big surprise there. Dorbic here. I could see this. I didn't expect this to be played a whole lot here. In a really long tournament, if it breaks once, you're kind of screwed. Hunters. We did expect Hunters to perform. I've got Belphamon here as well. Beelzemon, we got Machingermon here, and then Alphamon did not perform, but I think we're pretty spot on there. So a lot of this here that we get the most played stuff was in our tier 1s, and then our tier 1.5s is a lot of this stuff down here as the 1-ofs and 2-ofs that perform. So I think we were pretty spot on. There was a couple, though, that I was way off on. I had the Blue Leomon down here. So not competitive, definitely wrong on that one. And Bagra, I think this was the biggest one that shocked me. Was I put Bagra at almost the lowest of the low of possible, and then it ended up getting top 64. So I think that surprised everyone. I don't think a lot of people know how to play around this, which we'll get into because it is on our list to cover today. So yeah, big surprise there. Congrats to that Bogger player. So let's go ahead and break down some of these lists right quick. We're not going to go do a complete card by card. I'll just take a jump here to this one. So this is, of course, is our first place. We're not going to do a card by card, but I am going to talk about a few highlights that were pretty important overall in the grand scheme of things. Things that were like very, very like probably is the reason they made it as far as they did. First up, we got Soulmon here. All turns, all of your Digimon retaliation get plus 2000 DP. This puts, since this is an all turn effect, it's not an on play effect. As soon as it hits the field, it's at 6000. This gets around cards like Ruin Mode giving that blanket minus 5k, which was messing up a lot of players over the weekend. Basically, they couldn't combo off of Anubis because all of their level 4s that they're playing out with Retal would die immediately. So having that Soulmon in there teched was a really, really good call. Moving on down the list, we've got the May Crack here, so that way you could play it out. You could even do it off the Anubis for a free play cost potentially here, and then you could trash to kill something like a Gazimon to prevent the memory gain. Things like that. Just a good general removal of these guys here, the Gazi and Psychmons. In the mirror match, that pretty much how it goes. You go Anubis, go Merva, and then you play out a Psych and a Gazi, and your opponent just is pretty much backed up against the wall, not able to do hardly anything against a board of those two. So pretty much whoever turbo those two out the fastest won most of the games. The one of Leviamon, I actually like this a whole lot more than running the Biting Crush. I don't think the Biting Crush was really necessary, but the Leviamon by itself in conjunction with the Anubis. So you go play this off of the Anubis for minus 6 play cost, so you're down to 7, right, on his play cost, and then his own effect here. So on play and when Digivolving, if your opponent has as many or more total Digimon and Tamers as you, delete one of your opponent's highest level Digimon, then delete one of your opponent's lowest level Digimon. All turns when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, gain 1 memory for each Digimon deleted. So you're going to then reduce it by an additional, basically 2 play cost. So now it's down to a 5 play cost here. So it ended up being really, really powerful. Especially if you could do multiple deletions, delete one of your opponents with the highest level, and then delete one of your opponents with the lowest level. So yeah, really, actually was really, really powerful. That memory gain was huge, and it's an all turns effects. So when they go Merva, play out their 2 rushes, swing with everything, and they keep dying to security, they're losing memory for all those, you know, deletions and security. So actually really, really spicy tech. But the biggest performer, I think this is probably the reason he actually won the entire event, was because of the Black Gatomon Uber Driver. On play, by returning 1 Digimon card from your opponent's trash to the bottom of the deck, draw 1. The draw is not even that important. Like, yeah, it's great, but the big thing was you play this and you bottom deck a Mervamon. They have a Mervamon in their trash. You send it to the bottom so that way they can't play it off the Anubis. In the finals, if you saw it, you saw how he kept returning the Magna Angemons to the bottom of their deck so they couldn't Flame Hell Scythe to bring it back out repeatedly to get all those recovers. That was actually huge. I think this card single-handedly pretty much won them the finals there, was because they kept bottom decking that Magna Angemon. They lost out on, I think, at least 3 recoveries off the Magna Angemon, potentially because of Flame Hell Scythes. So yeah, really, really great tech. Absolutely incredible stuff. But speaking of that SetCon deck, let's jump over here and take a look at it. A lot of normal stuff, but a couple interesting things that I think were great calls. One, Pillowmon for this event. Players can't play Digimon by effects. Just had a 1 of tech in here. I think it might have even been worth running 2 of, but hey, it worked out for them pretty well. But really, really great for the Anubis matchup for sure, as well as also good for the Commandramon if it had been played more. I think the issue with Commandramon, though, was everyone was teching against Anubis, so those same techs work really, really well against Commandramon, so that might have been it. The Raremon, very interesting. 4 play cost on play by trashing 1 card from hand, draw 2. I think that in itself is probably the whole reason this was played. Nice little draw 2 4 play cost. If you played SetCon, you know that getting draws is very, very difficult. So it made sense. They went with the 4 Upamons, which I am totally here for. 4 Upas and 4 Salas. That's the way I prefer to play it. I know a lot of people have gone to the Harrismons, but I still prefer the Upa Sala for that recovery and that draw power. Feels really good. So enjoyed seeing that. The Airdramon here, very big surprise. So on 5 play cost here, reveal 1, search your security, reveal 1, and if it was yellow, recovery 1. So it's essentially the same thing as a TK here for on a level 4 body, and then you can use it to go blast Digivolve into your Magna Angemon. So that was really cool tech. The Azulong is the only one I'm like, that's an interesting choice. I don't think I would have done anything like this. But Zulongmon Ace here, so you can blast Evo for 0, return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to the hand. Then unsuspend one of your Digimon with the Deva. So he basically will unsuspend himself if it happens to be suspended. And then on deletion, delete one of your opponents with the highest level. I don't know. That felt really odd. The Shadow Seraphi makes sense. No regular Seraphi, I thought was kind of interesting. So no recovery in the minus 7k DP. The Avenged Kidmon, basically his strategy was to stall the opponent out and have them deck themselves. And so having the Avenged Kidmon in there is the way to stack your deck back up. And if you're putting in all your kill options and things like that and your recovery options, then you'll be able to outlast your opponent even with putting their options back in there, because their options probably aren't going to be as like effective as yours are, especially against Anubis, which is just a lot of like, you know, purple memory boost and things like that. Like that's putting those back in the bottom of the deck won't do any good because there's no Digimon left to add. So Avenged Kid, really cool tech. 1 Death X, only 1 Death X, kind of a surprise. I'm surprised there's not 2, or at least a 1 Death X and 1 of the Ruin modes. But hey, it worked. Lament of Friendship here, very interesting choice. Instead of the more traditional Calling, which is a 1 play cost, but Calling, you know, you have to delete one of your own, and it can only add back a purple, whereas this can add back anything, so any color Digimon. So I guess that's the choice there in that. That's the only thing I could think of. If there's another reason to play the Lament of Friendship, please let me know. I assumed it was just add any Digimon back, just no color restriction. Just a 1 of, again, just an interesting 1 of tech there. Flame Hellscythe, pretty normal. X Program was very, very popular this weekend. There's not a whole lot of X antibodies being played right now, so delete 1 Digimon without X antibody in its traits. If there are 3 or more Digimon in play, delete all Digimon without X antibody in their traits. So this card was putting in a lot of work. My boy Hunter was playing SetCon as well, and he was talking about how he kept playing X Program. He had, I think, 2 copies in his deck, and it was like his MVP card for the entire weekend. And he was just blowing up boards left and right with X Program. He did really, really well. I think he dropped 2 games, one of which was round 1, which he wasn't even there for because his Uber driver got in an accident. So I think he would have done exceptionally well if he had made round 1. Real bummer for him. Everything else here, pretty standard stuff. Only the 4 Kari, no Mimis. I think that was that was the biggest surprise in this whole deck. A lot of this stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that. That makes sense. No Mimis. We're relying on just the Karis to get their purple yellow options off. They did go really light on them. I say really light, but only basically 2 cards at 4 of each. So. And with the mulligan, you basically get, like, you have to mulligan and get a Kari in hand, or pray you do as soon as possible. Digimon Emperor, I've been loving this card in all SetCon lists. It's just really powerful. Your opponent promotes up that rookie, they forget about it, boom, you gain 2 memory. Like, that's killer. As well as its draw power, which we already talked about. Draw power in SetCon is very limited. So, as a SetCon player, I really do enjoy this list. Just a couple cards that I thought were a little bit odd. Mainly just that Azulong, though. Like, that was the biggest surprise. And then no Mimis. So, moving on, though. So, next up we got, this is the Bagramon deck, which totally blew me away. I was so impressed. I absolutely love that they did this. This deck is, if you're not familiar with how to play around this deck, can be super frustrating, honestly. So you've got the U Tamer here. Uamano has an effect of when you would where is it? This one, all turns. When a purple card is placed under this Tamer, draw one and gain one memory. So when your stuff is deleted and saves underneath him, you can draw one and gain a memory. So gaining memory during your opponent's turn, like say you've got something with like blocker here, and you know the blocker blocks and dies, and then boom, it goes under Uamano. Uamano gains memory. Really, really strong effects there, as well as here it is. When an opponent plays a Digimon or Tamer, by trashing one of this Digimon's Digivolution cards, gain one memory. So more gaining memory during the opponent's turn, like that's super important. So basically you continuously choke your opponent at one and then gain memory during their turn and end their turn abruptly. Very strong strategy that's very difficult to play around. And I think a lot of people probably played into that a lot. If I had to guess, I expect a lot of people had played into that. So just really awesome. This deck is actually pretty cool. We featured it on the channel ways back when Darkness Bogger first released. We had it on the channel. And yeah, whenever I was recording and trying to play against it, I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating to deal with. The deck is actually surprisingly really awesome. So if you haven't tried out Darkness Bogger, I think now clearly is a good time to do so. All right, we got Lugumon. Lugumon finally performed. There was a big debate among our video of our tier list of why Lugumon was as low as it was, and that was simply because it had no tops. It had never made top 16 at any like regional or anything like that, or the other Nats. So I was just really hesitant to put it higher on the tier list. Finally, we have a top here. So it did make top 64, as well as it made it all the way into top 16. So now it has a top 16 at a regional or at a Nats. So I think this absolutely deserved to be bumped up. We can bump it up into tier 1 status. So a lot of, you know, your basic package here of a lot of things. They've got the Chimeramon because of the bodies you play off the Fenrir, and then Fenrir will suspend them to go for its alliance abilities there. So then once they're suspended, then you just Chimera for game. You got the Black Gatomons, of course, for the rush here. You got your digging cards, the one Death X for, you know, those matchups where you need it. Some surprise text though. Again, we see the Black Gatomon Uber driver. That's really cool. I think again, people playing this were definitely in deep practice of text to run, so good for them. The Growlmon here, really interesting. When digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, both players trash top 2 cards of their deck. Inheritable, when attacking, you may delete one of your other Digimon to have this Digimon gain security attack +1 for the turn. So you go swing, alliance, suspend that Digimon, and then you go Growlmon, pop that same one. So that one Digimon is giving you basically security attack +2 and its DP. So that's really cool tech there, as well as kills floodgates really nicely. That can be an issue. You can't play Digimon by effects, that sort of thing. We see the Gabumon here. I think this is a really cool one here. When attacking, draw one, trash one, as well as starting your main phase, gain a memory. Instead of running something like an Ignite or the Drachmon, no Drachmon. I think it was a big surprise for me as well. So yeah, really cool to see Fenrir on the list finally. Really looking forward to seeing this deck played more now. I think now that Nats is over, people are going to be more willing to play this. Once Anubis gets hit, people will be dropping Anubis. All those purple players, I expect, will probably go back to Fenrir, especially also after the Garura engine gets hit as well. Fenrir will be pretty much the main purple deck, besides like maybe Beelzemon. All right, next we got Belphemon here, running the Garura engine. The Garura engine, if you're not familiar, basically the whole reason you run this is to fill up your trash with important stuff that you need, depending on the strategy you're playing. Like if you're playing Beelstar, you can draw and trash your option cards to make your Beelstar cheaper. So things like that. And then this deck here, we've got some similar stuff. We've got the Belphemon engine as the top end. So the low end is just a wear package. And then the top end is your Belphemon engine. So that's really cool. They went deep with the Biting Crush Leviamon combo here. Like 4 and 4. Like, dang. I don't think I've seen anyone running 4 and 4 yet. So that was a bit of a surprise here. Beelzemon Blast Mode. I think this is just a great card in general. If you're running a purple deck that can fill up your trash pretty quickly, having a Blast Mode in there is basically purple's Blitz Omnimon. If you're playing a blue or red deck that's really aggro, you pretty much always throw in a Blitz Omnimon for game. This is just purple's Blitz Omnimon. So if you're running a deck that can fill up trash really fast, Blast Mode is just a really good tech to just kind of toss in there. And then the one Matt, I kept having issues with mine of Matt just being really cloggy and never wanting to play it. So I can see why they only wanted to run it as a one of. It's not a must-have, but it's a choice to play at times. Setcon again here, a bit of a different build, so I did want to just kind of show it off real quickly. Again, as a Setcon player, I am all about Setcon. This is way more in line with the decks that we featured on the channel. I tried out the Harrismon Tactical Retreat combo. This plays really nicely with it. We got the Togemons here for the draw. When a card is added to your security stack, draw one. So with all the recovery that you're doing here. So we were playing a deck very, very similar to this. Got the Shadow Seraphis, the regular Seraphis, and the one Venus, the Death X here. So, you know, pretty on the nose stuff there. No ruin modes, but that kind of makes sense with the limited level 6s that it can evo onto. Well, I guess it's not actually, not for this one. But yeah, so no ruin mode, a bit of a surprise. The one calling, only one Schwartz here. I'm a big fan of running 2. You know me, I hate my one-ofs. All your standard options here. We see the Mimis back in the deck for this build, the TKs and the Kari. So, I mean, this is a very standard, in my mind, standard Setcon list, like almost identical to something I would play. So, yeah, I literally think the only change I would make in this was I don't think I was running the Venusmon anymore, and I was running Schwartz at 2. So, besides that, yeah, this is pretty much something I would run. Absolutely. Next up, we got the Leomon. This is green Leomon, not blue Leomon. Or the Gotcha. Leomon's just a very difficult deck to play around if you're not familiar. It's still pretty new, so I don't think a lot of people expected it to do that well. The majority, at least. I know some people, like, on this deck that were, like, very insistent on how good it was. And, yeah, I mean, it got one top, so, you know, you got to give credit where credit is due. It did make it to, you know, top 64, so that's really great. Fortitude is just a really difficult mechanic to play around right now, I think. You know, you just keep playing your stuff out. You Digivolve on top of the one that plays out, and then, you know, that one dies, and then it plays itself back out. So really difficult. It has on-play and with Digivolving. So it's got great board control abilities here, which is kind of a surprise for a green deck like it is, besides something like Piercing, of course, but like just straight-up deletion effects and things like that. The heavy Leomon, of course, is the big MVP. When Digivolving and on deletion, de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of their 6,000 DP or lower Digimon to the bottom of the deck. De-Digivolve was really powerful in this event because of Anubis playing the Mervas. You de-Digivolve a Merva back down to its Ignite form, and it makes it super easy to pop, but 2, you lose your rush on everything, and so that was a big thing, I think. As well as you lose your blockers. All your Retails that have blocker now, you know, they lose that. So you Digivolve into this, and boom, they lose their blocker. Then end of attack once per turn, return one of your opponent's 4,000 DP or lower Digimon to the bottom of the deck. If you don't, unsuspend this Digimon. So multiple attacks there, 13,000 DP, very respectable. The X antibody option in there, pretty cool. The Flashy Boss Punch, a card that we've yet to see actually being used. That's really cool. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 12,000 DP for the turn. Then one of your Digimon with Leomon or Boncho in its name may attack. So you can suspend it and then swing over it with your Piercing, kill another target as well. We're just really powerful combinations. So basically, you're going to suspend the Anubis, kill the Merva with the -12 and then swing over the Anubis. So you kill both of their megas. That is a big part of their deck, right? That's like kind of your end-all strategy there. And the very last one I want to talk about was Kyle Cohen's deck, a local from DFW area here. Kyle, congrats on making top 64 with this deck. I absolutely love this. This is a very original idea here, and I'm totally on board for it. It's technically called Yellow Hybrid, but there's literally only 2 yellow hybrids in the deck, which is kind of funny. But basically the idea is you're going to be playing your Agumons here that can turn your Marcuses into Digimon, as well as your Agumon that gains you 1 memory, so that way you can have the memory to pay for this Marcus to turn himself into a Digimon. So you're relying on basically your tamers to do a lot of your heavy lifting there, as well as your yellow hybrids. You got the 1-of Geogreymon to play out the Marcuses for free from security if they end up there. Just a whole lot of good stuff. Like it's kind of like a Setcon package, like a yellow-red Setcon package that we've seen, in the past. You got your Magna Angemons here, your Shadow Seraphis, pretty Setcon standard stuff here, your Death X's, Crimson Blaze, which is pretty much a staple in your red-yellow Setcon list, Fireball as well, for clearing out the Floodgate rookies, as well as just getting you draw power. You got your big kill options or your mid-range kill options, which you don't see a whole lot of mid-range kill options anymore. It's mostly just big stuff. Heaven's Judgment is really powerful in a deck that can have multiple colors, so you can have red, yellow, and white. So that's going to be a very, very big like smash of an ability there. You got your Shining Blast for some wideboard removal, and your Sunrise Buster as a 1-of. Play an additional tamer. The 1 Louis is a bit of a surprise, just the 1-of there. But the 4 Ukomon, if you're not familiar, Ukomon Rush has been kind of popular. It's just a deck filled with, it's a rookie rush deck of floodgates, right? And you got Ukomon here, so every time you promote up, you hatch another egg and you gain a memory instantly. So basically, your rookies are just always in rotation. So you're just constantly promoting rookies every single turn and gaining memory, and then just like going for game constantly, just super aggro. So very aggro rookie rush style deck, basically, with a Setcon package teched into it as well. So really cool list. Absolutely love this. Really original. Congrats to Kyle there again. And that's going to do it for our the main ones that I want to talk about. Those were the big ones that like surprised me most. So I wanted to make sure we covered those and not just the standard stuff. There's like a ton of Anubises. 25, I mean, of top 64 is literally almost half, just shy of half there of, so there's a reason this card has already been selected to be limited. Thank goodness, because that's atrocious. Absolutely. Mirage still kicking in there, doing well. Red Hybrid is just gonna be one of those aggro decks that is very straightforward. It can play into most metas, so as long as there's not a meta that like really crushes tamers, Red Hybrid will, I think, continue to do well. The Garuru, we'll have to just wait to see how the Garuru decks do. Next set, we do get a whole bunch of blue Garurumon support, so that'll be good. Setcon, one of those decks that just never dies. People hate it. It's not as, I would say, as atrocious, and doesn't perform as well as some of these other decks. So, it does still have its limits. Super fast decks, super wide decks that can't, Setcon just can't deal with them. Beelzemon, again, another big purple staple there. Can play into most metas. Most metas can't handle it. Machingermon, very defensive. Belphemon, all these, the rest of these after this is just a big surprise to me, except for the Yellow Vaccine. Yellow Vaccine surprises me also for as low as it is. I think that's the big one there. But yeah, that will do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please like the video and subscribe. Also, go check out Ride My Avatar's video, his breakdown as well. A little bit shorter, a little bit faster there. Talks about a lot more of the main big decks that I did not cover. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you